Do you wish you can get your dirty fish tank to look like this? Stay tuned and I'll show you how. Hey everybody, it's Alex from Fathom Aquatics, and I want to talk to you about how to get your fish tanks to be crystal clear. So recently, I took a trip to the Tennessee Aquarium located in Chattanooga, Tennessee. While I was amazed by all of the fish and aquatic wildlife that they have, believe it or not, one thing that stood out the most was the water clarity. It wasn't just like ordinary water. It was like I was looking through a perfect crystal clear window. Because of this, I could see every intricate detail of all the fish and wildlife that I was looking at. To the state-of-the-art filtration systems hidden behind the scenes, to the balance of chemical filtration, it's pretty clear, no pun intended, that the Tennessee Aquarium has mastered the art of water clarity. Even though the water is crystal clear, it's not just for looks. The perfectly clean water is vital to the health and well-being of all the animals in the facility. You see, water clarity, or just clean water, is beneficial to all aquatic life, not just the fish. The clearer the water, the more light your plants are able to obtain from your expensive aquarium lights. When your plants get more of that light, not only do they grow faster, but they use up more of those nitrates, which helps keep your water even more clean and stable for your fish. But check out the channel for more about lowering your nitrates. You're spending a lot on these aquarium lights, so why waste money when you could just make your water more clear to get your even cheaper lights to be able to penetrate further into the water and get your plants to grow. So they mastered how to get immaculate water, but how can you? Let me show you how. Let's dive into how you can get similar results in your home aquarium. So one of the first things I want to talk about is mechanical filtration. The first part about mechanical filtration is just to make sure your filters are clean. You need to have a regular schedule of when you're going to take your filters out of the system and get them cleaned out. You want to clean your filter pads, all your sponges, maybe rinse your media. Make sure your filter, whether it's a hang on the back or the canister or a sump, you want to make sure it's clean, because if you have dirt in there, it's just going to be spraying dirt out. So how can you use mechanical filtration to increase your water clarity? Well, one of the first things you can do is use a pre-filter sponge, like something like this. This is one from Aquarium Co-op, and this will just help keep less stuff out of your filter. It'll be able to let your fine filter pads in your filter go longer without being clogged as often. And then the next part about mechanical filtration I want to talk about is the fine pads that I just mentioned. So you can get some stuff like this. This is actually, it almost looks like felt. One side it's kind of hard, and the other side it's really soft. This is an extremely low micron filter pad. So it only lets things that are like double-digit microns or less to be able to pass through this. So I have some of this in my sump, and I have some of this in some of my other canister filters, but this stuff gets clogged very easily. It gets changed out weekly. Next up with my fine filter medias are filter flosses. So I have this roll of, it's like pinky pad, I can't remember the name of it. You can get this off of Amazon. It's the package that has the octopus on it. And this is some of the best fine filter pads that you can get. And you can see how I have like chunks cut out, little pieces here, because I get this huge roll and I cut it to the length of my filters. So this works in all my hang in the back filters. I've got several sections in my sump down here below me where I use this stuff specifically, and I go through this not as often as you would think, because this stuff actually is very durable, and when it gets dirty you can clean it in the sink or with a hose or whatever you want to do, and it actually, like, it's bright, this like bright pink color, well, it'll still be bright pink after you rinse it out, and you could probably rinse it like 5 or 6 times before it starts getting a little bit kind of too, I don't know, just deteriorated, I guess. You'll be able to tell because the white side, it could still be kind of white, but if you could see, I guess I can't get the focus right, the fibers will start to kind of spread apart a little bit more than you want them to be, and it becomes less effective. So this stuff is really great. You get a lot of uses out of this. I get 1 or 2 of these rolls a year, and they last me a while. But I also have a lot of tanks. I've got this tank, I got all kinds of tanks around me. The next type of fine mechanical filtration I want to talk about is filter floss. So if I can get this to focus, this is just a handful of filter floss. This is polyfill, and it's like pillowcase stuffing, whatever you want to call it. You can get this at Walmart, Target, a lot of craft stores, most fish stores. And the thing about this stuff is you get a big clump of it and you put it right at the top of your hang on the back filter, or in your canister, or in your sump. I have a section in my sump where I can use this polyfill if I ever want to get extremely fine filtering. And what this is going to do is it's going to pull out all the very, very small particulates that are in your water. It's going to get clogged in here, and it's going to make your water crystal clear. Another way you can achieve fine mechanical filtration, if you don't want to use a sump or hang on the back filter or something like that, if you just have some kind of air system, you could actually use a sponge filter like this, and you can get the sponge coarseness to be fine like this one. If you go online, you can find some of these fine sponge filters, and these will help polish your water if you just have an air line going in. I would recommend this if you're just going to throw in an air stone just to get some surface agitation or get some bubbles going. I recommend just getting rid of that air stone and putting one of these in the corner of your tank. It's going to do everything that you want that air stone to do, but so much more, and it's going to get your water more clear. The next thing I want to talk about to try to get your water crystal clear is chemical filtration. So while it's not 100% necessary, it is going to be like that next step to push you further to your goal. If your water is almost to the perfect clarity and it looks good, but it looks like maybe you can get just a little bit more clear, this is when you want to use chemical filtration to try to fill in that gap and get it exactly where you want it. The first part of chemical filtration I want to talk about is something like activated carbon. It's very simple, it's very cheap, you can get it everywhere. Walmart sells it, Petco, PetSmart, Amazon, all those places. Your local fish store definitely should be your #1 place to go to get activated carbon. I just ran out of my large bag of carbon, but these are some bags of carbon that I have that aren't spent yet. I like to keep these around. Not only do they help keep your water clear, but they remove any kind of smells or odors that come out of your tanks, which is why I like to keep these around sometimes. Another thing that activated carbon is good at is removing all the tannin from the water. If you've got a 3.5 foot piece of driftwood behind you like I do, you're going to need a lot of activated carbon or other chemical filtration just to get rid of those tannins. And removing those tannins is going to increase your water clarity, and it's going to let your lights penetrate further down into your tank. Activated carbon is also really good for removing medications or any kind of unwanted toxins from your tank. The only real downside for using activated carbon is that it doesn't last that long. Activated carbon only lasts usually about 3 to 4 weeks before you have to throw it out. When it comes to my favorite part of chemical filtration, it's going to be this Purigen by Seachem. This stuff's my favorite chemical filtration, and I use a lot of it. When you have as many tanks as I do, you're going to go through a lot of this, but one of the best things about Purigen is that you can actually recharge it. So it does go bad over time, but if you go on the manufacturer's website, you can actually see there's instructions on how to take this stuff and clean it and be able to reuse it. So a container like this is the 250 milliliter container. This is probably like 15 bucks or something like that. If you were to use this like $15 container, it'll go bad probably within like a month, maybe longer, maybe less, depending on your stocking and what kind of tank and all that stuff you have going on. But the good thing is, after that month, whenever it goes bad, unlike the carbon, you can actually go ahead and take this out, mix it with some bleach and kind of rinse it. But don't just do that. Follow the instructions on the website. It tells you how to do it, and then you get to reuse this stuff. So I have many huge bags of this in my sump. I have it in my canister filters and all of my hang on the back filters. I've got it in my saltwater tank. I've got it in my freshwater tank. This stuff is awesome. Not only does Purigen get all those tannins out of the water, it makes your water spectacular. it makes your tanks so crystal clear. Whenever you have purigen and carbon together in one tank, it's like it's supercharged. Your chemical filtration will be supercharged whenever you use purigen with carbon together. I guarantee you, if you have a filter that's reasonably rated for your tank, you've got some fine filter pads, maybe some polyfill, maybe some of these custom pads cut to fit, you've got some carbon in there, and you've got purigen running, that water is going to be crystal clear. The next thing that's going to help you get crystal clear water is to actually maintain a regular schedule for your water changes. If you want crystal clear water, but you have a heavily stocked tank, and you have a lot of fish in there, you have a lot of bioload, the best way to help keep that down is to be doing your water changes. That's going to drastically increase your water clarity. One of the more obvious ways to get your water clean is to remove the dirty water and replace it with clean water. Do your water changes weekly, every week, every 2 weeks. If your water is dirty, increase that schedule. You might need to do it every week. You might need to do it 2 times a week. If you want that crystal clear water, change out your dirty water. My last tip about maintaining a crystal clear aquarium is maybe your water actually is crystal clear, but your glass isn't. So you might want to scrape your glass down, use a algae scraper or some kind of magnet. I like to use this magnet here. This is a mag float, and these are really great, but they can actually scratch your glass a little bit if you get it too close to the sand. So I don't let this go too much further than about here. I don't let it get close to my sand, but you could just clean your tank without getting your hands wet. The best part about a mag float or any of these magnetic algae scrapers that you can use with magnets on the outside is that you don't get your hands wet. It's important to get your hands wet and your arms wet and all that whenever you're keeping your aquarium. I like to try to actually get into my tanks and clean it as much as possible. But I promise you, if you have a mag float, that's just one less speed bump for you. You don't have to worry about having a towel or getting your hands in the tank. You just walk by your tank. If you notice there's some algae, you could just clean it and then you're done. Since it's so easy to use a mag float and it's so accessible, you're more likely to clean your glass more often. If your glass is clean and your water is clean, it's going to look crystal clear. If you use every one of these techniques, you're going to have crystal clear water in your home aquarium. When your water's clean, you're going to enjoy your aquarium so much more. My last tip is that if you're looking to elevate your aquarium, click on these links to learn more.